All right, so we're back at it again. Michigan is playing another night game as they go on the road to Rutgers, a 7:30 kickoff as the number 5 Michigan Wolverines are playing the Scarlet Knights. Now, Michigan is ranked number 5 after the College Football Playoff Committee released their first rankings. Honestly, not going to really get into it because those things all play out, because if Michigan just wins out, then they easily get in. So we might bring it up more later, but for this episode, let's just talk about Rutgers. Now, Rutgers is actually a team that's been bouncing through a couple quarterbacks because of injury, also because they've been trying out a couple different players at different times. They've had Simon, Vedral, and Wimsatt. Wimsatt was actually the quarterback for their last game against Minnesota, but he is questionable for this coming game against Michigan. It's probably going to be between him and Vedral, depending on his availability. So there might be more answers on that here later in the week. Now, let's not go into full Rutgers mode on being like Rutgers is Rutgers, because Greg Schiano has been able to, I wouldn't say completely turn them around, but he's got them pointing in the right direction. Rutgers gave Michigan a really tough time last year when they were playing at the Big House, so can't completely write them off. But having said that, they still have been going through their struggles this year. And last week, being shut out against Minnesota, probably one of their worst performances. There's some opportunity now with having Rutgers and then Nebraska coming up on their schedule for them to work out some kinks. And by kinks, I mean the red zone. Talked about last time, going to talk about it again. Red zone. This game should present the opportunities that they do not have to kick so many field goals. They need to get beyond that. If they get fourth down in the red zone, they need to be going for it because they need to be figuring this out in the next 2 weeks. Against Rutgers and against Nebraska, perfect opportunity to figure out, because these two defenses for these next 2 weeks, they're not going to be as difficult as the defenses for the final 2 weeks of the regular season, because that's Illinois and Ohio State. So that is going to be a big task, and they need to figure out the red zone issues before that. It would also be nice to be able to see the passing game come along a little bit better, because there was some disconnect, as I was saying, when they were playing Michigan State, when they needed to be able to pass, and it just wasn't completely there. Rutgers' defense seems to be more susceptible to the passing game, so maybe Michigan will take this week as an opportunity to work more on that and maybe take their foot off of the gas pedal for the running offense. I'm not saying to not give Corman Edwards good playing time. I'm just saying what we haven't seen in the past several weeks, yet almost the entire season, a focus on the passing game. There have been drives where it's been 90% running plays. You know, can they take an opportunity to try to do the same thing, but with passing plays? Can they get the receivers more involved? Because it almost seems like they're rusty because they're not incorporated as much. Bell seems to be the most consistent receiver, but part of that might just be because Bell is targeted what appears to be like twice as often as the rest of the receiving core. So hopefully in this game, they look into some things like that. While the Rutgers defense is keeping their opponents to around 22 points per game, they're only scoring roughly 20 points per game. So I think those numbers are going to get skewed quite a bit here when they play Michigan. I think the offense is not going to have a problem putting up points, and we'll have to see if Rutgers is going to be able to put up very much, or if they're going to wind up laying another goose egg for 2 weeks in a row. So while I'm not doing a deep breakdown into the opponent and some of their skill sets and things like that, I'm looking at this week more of an opportunity for, as I said earlier, Michigan to fine tune some things. So that's what I'll be looking for into this game, that they're taking opportunities to try to do some things different, not to change who the team is and how they play, but just to be able to get more comfortable in different circumstances, how well things can go with some of the second string players, which we haven't seen very much from since the first out of conference games. So honestly, I'm feeling like this is good timing. I think that Michigan will do well with this game. They'll be able to handle things well, but it's that growth. I want to see things moving forward, the progression. And this is definitely one of those weeks. We've seen them do different things against the tougher opponents where you'll see new things. I think one of the best examples is how the defense stepped up against Iowa. And we saw some of those players like Mike Morris step up, and a couple of things happened since then. But now it's focusing on growing for the team in specific areas. That's what this weekend really can be about, to really help for the end and the close of the season coming up. Before getting into some final thoughts, I do have my game lock. I think I'm going to go ahead and take number 15, Penn State, who's going to be going on the road to Indiana. Penn State coming off of their loss to OSU, and Indiana on their long losing streak. I think this is just the opportunity for Penn State to bounce back. And they were able to work decently well offensively against OSU. And so against Indiana, I think that it'll just go smoother for them. So they are 14-point favorites, and I have Penn State covering that this weekend. Now, for final thoughts against Rutgers, not a lot of details going on here. Like I said, not entirely sure who Rutgers is going to be starting at quarterback. But this game is one that Michigan should be able to handle pretty easily. I hope that they really do focus on the passing game this weekend. Definitely still giving Corum plenty of carries, but taking that opportunity to work more with the receiving core, giving them some in-game experience, and working on that chemistry there in the team for use later on in the season. So that's what I'm looking for. I still anticipate the defense is going to do what they have been doing and dominate. And so I actually have down for a final score of Michigan 48, Rutgers 6. This might be an opportunity for a shutout. I think there's a really good chance with that, but I do have the 6 points for my final score prediction. We'll see how everything pans out for this weekend. I hope your Saturday is not too long, because it is a long wait until 7:30 for a kickoff. But Michigan football is still Michigan football, no matter the time. So we'll catch you all after the game for a reaction video. Hope you all have a great weekend. And until next time, go Blue.